I hit the mute button. Wow, that's shorter than the normal intro, so I forgot. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Suicide French and Saturday. And no, you don't get to see my smiling face today because this smiling face has a fever and chills and all of that fun stuff. So it's not as adorable as it always is, and I was not about to put makeup on. So, with that, why are we all here? Because it is Suicide French and Saturday, and we need to talk about mental health. Why? Because 2 out of every 3 gun deaths we hear about are suicides. And if we talk about mental health, we can help those people, not just those who feel miserable and sad enough to take their lives with a firearm, but all the rest of the people who are also struggling because life is struggle and that is just part of it. And we know the advantage of talking about mental health also helps us prevent violence. So, since a majority of this audience are gun owners, it is just good to talk about these things from time to time. Funniest thing I got to tell you about this week, though. Yesterday, I had to reschedule a student, and she calls me and she's like, "Hey, do you know anything about the QPR training?" And for those of you um, who've been here for long enough, you might know that I am actually QPR certified, which is I can't read, didn't write this down. Question, persuade, and refer. So QPR training just teaches us about asking people the hard questions, right? The hard question is, are you depressed? Are you feeling anxious? Do you think you're going to harm yourself? These are the hard questions none of us ever want to ask anyone ever. Because honestly, we don't want the answer. We don't want to know that one of our friends or our family member are suffering in this way. So QPR training is questioning, asking that question. And I think one of the biggest things that people talk about with that is, well, I don't want to ask someone if they're suicidal because maybe they hadn't thought of it. And if I ask them if they're suicidal, I'm going to put the idea in their head. And as someone who was formerly suicidal as a teen, I can promise you, yeah, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. You're not going to do that. So the persuade, if someone answers you positively and is in danger, you persuade them or try to persuade them to actually get help. And the R for referral is having an idea of where to refer someone. Now, this is where we give you guys stuff like calling the crisis line, locally calling 211, and nationally now you can call 911, or sorry, 988, my bad. Thank goodness there's a little thing scrolling around the bottom to remind us of this. And then our friends at Walk the Talk America, of course, offer us even more resources on their love tab. I don't know what to call it other than the love tab, but for those of you guys who've not been to Walk the Talk America, if you go to resources, and where the heck is it? There's so much stuff that they have now. Oh yeah, free screenings. Yeah, this big button over here in the corner where it says free screenings. This is where you can go. And they have a ton of mental health tests. Depression, ADHD, PTSD, test your child's parent. Oh, goodness gracious, y'all can read. So the QPR is also having resources available to you so you know where to send people. And we've talked about this before, and Walk the Talk America has talked about it on their podcast as well. Even if you're not depressed, but you're worried about somebody else, you are welcome to click on the depression test, take the quiz as if you were the person you're concerned about. And at the end of each one of these, there are absolutely additional resources available to you. So I don't know about you guys, but if you've been to the doctor lately, which I have been, they have these questions often on every time you walk in. They're checking in because there are some places where we really do care. And I don't mean to sound, I don't know, that almost sounds like that nowhere else cares. But oh, here we are. Saturday night. You guys are popping in to say hi. I did get to chat with a couple of you because I was surfing the YouTube side earlier. I do have Mr. DJ in here, and he's going to do a roll call for me in just a few minutes because I'm trying to get better about giving him a heads up before I call on him because sometimes he's ready, and other times I'm like, hey, DJ, let's go. And then, yes, there is a song, Hey, DJ. But I don't know how many of you out there are hearing that right now. So QPR training just happened to have come up yesterday because one of my students that I'm going to have in a couple of weeks is a QPR training. So we might actually talk about getting a bunch of us together to do the QPR training as a group. So if you guys think you'd have a couple hours available on a Zoom call, let me know and I will work on putting that together. All right, so for those of you who are on a big screen and you can see my avatar, it says all we have is all we need. And just as the description says on today's suicide prevention YouTube side, at least, because I'm always confused how it actually works. This is a book that my mom gave to me. And I have to tell you, you don't even have to read the book. You can just look at the title and realize that if all you did as you are freaking out over life in general, because let's be real, life is a challenge. If you take a moment and realize that all we have is all we need, most of you out there, as far as I know, have a roof over your head. You have an internet connection. So I certainly hope that you are eating and are well fed and have shelter. And in our society, I called it the hamster wheel. We are always, well, not we, but I know I am often looking for, oh, just one more. So all we have is all we need is a simple saying that you could have in your head. I honestly have had this book for probably close to 15 years now. And just having it in my house on a counter that I can look at every so often really does make a difference because it is easy to get into the scarcity mentality of things. Now, Mr. DJ, was that enough time to have you all up and running? Because unfortunately, it looks like you got pulled off the stage. So I'm throwing you up there and seeing if it will work. Look at that kitty.
Yeah, I'm ready. And I forgot that that was my icon right now. So I might be changing that out at the next swap.
Okay.
But this evening, we are joined by, guess who was first? Although you know, tell me who's first.
Pink hand waving.
Mr. Pink Hand waving himself, the
Yeah.
Krabby Turtle, followed by G23. Then we got Hillbilly Up stopping in. That's Sorry Fan 93 out there, gun websites, of course. Abigail Sorsha Finnegan has joined us, as has Mark Thomas. Chasing Ghost, it's been a minute. Glad to have you here tonight. Mr. Tears 03 is out there for the first time, I do believe. Two Live Moo making his appearance. Viejo is out there, so is Vanessa Kitty. Guns and Barbecue, I think, might have been the last one in the room. And of course, he's going to provide you with 99 squirrels. And that's your roll call.
Awesome. And I did actually look at the starred comment that you gave me from Viejo. So I will click on that now so you and I don't click on it at the same time. So, yeah, if we look at all that we have, we'll always have enough. If we only look at what we want, we'll never have enough. And that is exactly my thought as far as the hamster wheel goes. Because there are so many times when I will finish a project. Now, hear me out, folks. When I say finish a project, I'm not talking like building the Taj Mahal or something. Getting the dishes done is a project for lots of us. Honestly, on some days, taking a shower is a project for lots of us. So when we look at all the stuff we haven't done, it is an innumerable amount of stuff. And yet so often we forget to look back on all of the things we've accomplished. So here is my trick that I use when I am possibly considering that I don't have enough, or I don't do enough, or I am not enough, which sadly I believe is a common thread in emotion across America. I don't have that many people across the world, but I imagine there are some similarities in many cultures. So, on days when I'm paying attention, I will write down all of the stuff that I do. And why do I do that? Well, because we take for granted all the stuff we actually do. I have this conversation with my students often as well. I always ask them, what do you do for work? And for the fun of it, folks, those of you out in the comments, I think we've done this once or twice, but throw out what your profession is. And the reason I ask this is because whatever your profession is, like I know Hillbilly's out there, for example, and he's had multiple professions. And I kind of talked to GT3 about these things. But anyway, refresh my memory on what things you do. Because the point of asking that is you and I constantly take for granted all of the stuff we actually do. We often look at others who can do things that we cannot. Like I'll pick on Hillbilly since he's out there. Hillbilly puts out product on YouTube like crazy. Hillbilly takes multiple cameras, splices them all together, edits a bunch of stuff, and puts it up there. And I'm like, holy crud, I don't have time for that. That's amazing stuff, but I can't do it. And the truth of the matter is, I can do it. I don't want to. But it is totally easier for me to just build Hillbilly up and say, well, he's awesome, which he is. But unfortunately, I have a bad habit from time to time of beating myself up because I'm not as good as he is. And the reality of it is anytime that we are comparing ourselves to others, just sort of like Viejo's comment of looking at others versus looking at what we want, is when we compare ourselves to others, we're never going to measure up because we see the best in others most of the time. We know ourselves and can be the most harsh critics we have for ourselves. So, all we have is all we need is the easiest thing that I can give to you guys that helps me on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to remind myself, A, that I'm fully capable of doing the things I need to do on a regular basis. It's okay if from time to time I'm going to sit there and binge watch a TV show, like today when I have a fever and my body aches and all of that fun stuff. It's okay to give myself permission to do that without feeling lazy or like there's something else I should be doing. So, as far as getting off our hamster wheel about thinking we have to get just one more thing done, we need to make sure that we are acknowledging all of the things that we does. Yeah, so I'm only looking at the starred comments, and this is the next one that DJ starred for me, and that's what I was laughing at. It does take time, and I'm not too kind. I'm being honest, but ask my wife. I need big improvement on everything. I believe that is the job of most wives. If you ask most husbands, is that we are unrelenting and we can be critical, but it's because we love you and we know that you're able to do even more, which I've realized over these last few weeks that is a horrible thing to do. In that, I've had both my mom and my children and my husband remind me that it sounds like I always wanted to be better than it is. And that is another reason to remind ourselves all we have is all we need, because we are all doing the best we can with the skills that we have. So, with that, DJ, I'm going to go back and get squirrelified. So, barbecue can get ready with some squirrels here. I am just curious, did anyone answer the question about what they do? Like Abigail here. I'm not, I haven't read through everything yet, but I know Abigail, I'm pretty sure, I hope I have this right. Abigail builds rifles, and that's one of the things that she does. And for me, that's all black magic, man. I am not a yeah, and sorry, fan. That is it. Squirrels, darned squirrels. And those are not red squirrels. All right, so Mark Thomas is a high school teacher. Oh dear Lord, bless you, my child. I will say that I used to be a high school coach, sorry, junior high coach for soccer, and I was so glad I was the sports coach versus an actual teacher. As a teacher, the skills you have to manage a room, to manage lots of different personalities within said room, and no one dies is a big deal. But you do it all the time. And if I remember correctly, you've been doing it for a really long time. Like, I want to think that, Mark, are you getting close to retiring or not so much? I could be imagining things. I have to say that people like G Webs and Barbecue and DJ tend to pay attention to these things better than I do, or keep them in order. Um, all right, so yeah, so I wasn't totally off. So Abigail, being a freelance armorer, means she builds guns, and I've only heard her talking about the rifles, so that's what like sticks in my head. But it's even just being an armorer, any mechanic, honestly, is just amazing to me, because it's like you take the pieces and parts, you put them all together, and they actually work and do the thing that they're supposed to do. But when you're good at something and you can just do it without thinking about it, it's like, yeah, so what? I just did another gun and it came out awesome, but I just have another one ready to go. So making sure that every time you accomplish stuff. All right, so I'm gonna give Tara a pain. I'm gonna pain in the neck. I'm gonna bust on Tara a little bit, because you are not just a truck driver. One of the things we talk about here time and time again is the words that you use. So I love Tara to pieces, and that is Chasing Ghost's real name. So Chasing Ghost here says she is just a truck driver. However, just doesn't, it's not true. You are an awesome truck driver that drives all over the country, I believe, not just in Texas, but I'm not entirely sure. But it's like, if you think about driving truck and the fact that you can make a left-hand turn and a right-hand turn is something the average driver cannot do with an 18-wheeler and a tractor trailer on the back. Not even talking about backing into a truck alleyway thing, the truck docks. So the stuff that you think of when you're just a driver, yeah, no, it's never just. It's like you have a skill set. You're executing your skill set. And it is definitely a skill that that not everybody shares with you. All right. So, Surya fan, grocery store clerk, love you to pieces, and I can't do your job. I've tried running a cashier. It's not anything that I can do. I've tried it in a ski area. I've tried it as a bartender, and no matter what I do, my cash register is never correct. And as far as the clerks, always going around and picking everything up and putting everything back and making everything look awesome, also stuff that I can't do. So you always want to realize the stuff you do may seem like, oh, not a big deal, but it's like, all right, if we don't have grocery store clerks, then what happens? Well, we don't get to go shopping. We don't get to go shopping. We don't get fed. It's kind of a bummer. So every job is important. And yes, hillbilly up. The excavating, if I remember correctly, was the family business for a while. And we do a Women Gone Wild event at our, what do you call it, at the gun club. And one of the things they do is bring in an excavator so people can hop in there and just see how hard that actually is. And if you've never hopped in an excavator, which I can even say this evening, yeah, it's like the guys who know what they're doing make it look like they could pick up, a stone if they wanted to, whereas you're lucky not to tip the thing over and gouge the ground and all of those things. So, DJ, thanks for the help on all of that and finding who's doing what for me. So, with that, all we have is all we need. And if all we can do is remember that on a regular basis, we will have some steps towards a peaceful life. And I will actually drop the link in here for the book if anybody wants to get one, just so that they can be like me and have it around sitting on a somewhere that you would see it. Even if you're never going to read it, I kid you not, just having that, just reading the front line makes a difference. Although apparently I can't send it to Facebook. So, all right, if you're over on the Facebook side and you don't see it, no, I'm sorry. Let me know. I'll put it in the chat. All right, Mr. DJ, how are you? Oh, you got to unmute.
I'm
Okay, there you
doing
go.
well. I got my
Okay.
icon switched back to something a little bit more recognizable with the voice, I guess. Don't
Yeah.
really get to see my face very often, do you?
No,
Anyway,
no.
yeah, like when I saw the topic for tonight, I wasn't quite, pardon me, I wasn't quite sure what you meant. And now I know. And how quick Viejo was on the uptake there. I mean, immediately he took care of anything that needed to be said from my end. So this has been a relatively easy cruise for me tonight. I'm sorry that you're not feeling better though.
Yeah, no, being, yeah, it's gross. Anyway, it's like at like 8:40, I'm like, all right, it is Saturday, and I have to go put myself in front of a computer shortly. But the pain and suffering of life makes you appreciate when you don't have pain and suffering. And one of the things I've often said about suffering is it just makes you appreciate the light. The harder life the harder life is when you have the blessings, it makes you appreciate them that much more.
I'm able to relate to that strongly. Check out what Hillbilly Up has say out there. Bring him to your screen. He says, "We have almost the same saying here in the hills. The good Lord gives you all you need when you need it." Kind of hard to take that kind of advice, or be that patient, or be able to recognize the rewards that lay about us. So I see a lot of rewards and positivities out there in the text chat that return week after week after week. The message
Awesome.
stays the same.
Yeah.
The crowd changes here and there, but it's nice to be able to feel and to be able to expect the support that we receive here every Saturday evening.
Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. And it's always nice to have you here too. Oh, the gizzard finally decided to join us. Before you know it, we'll be saying goodbye, and Mr. Mario will show up too. Well, all right, so all we have is all we need. When we're facing tragedy or challenges, because I've also been going through a lot of funerals lately, I know people will say stuff like, how can I handle this? And the reality of it is, no matter how alone any of us feel, there's always somebody we can go to. And DJ, you're one of my somebodies, Mister. You just muted yourself.
I'm somebody special.
You are.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's what I have for today. Is all we have is all we need. I am going to bed shortly, so Hillbilly, I will not see you tonight, but thanks for the invite. For everyone who stopped in, I do appreciate all of you, because even when I'm feeling like garbage, um, I will come because I know you are here, and I appreciate that greatly. Because being sick sometimes is all about attitude, and my attitude has been on the couch all day. All right, Mr. DJ, I'm going to let you take us out, sir, if that's enough of a segue for you, of course, because I'm trying to be better about that.
Oh no, I'm fine. This evening on the Facebook side, though, we had somebody up here from the Facebook side. It's been a minute. Somebody named Jonathan Berger. I don't know who this guy is, but he's the only one who showed up from Facebook. And for those of you who don't know who Jonathan Berger is, it's barbecue. He was just joining from the other side. Wanted to make sure that we gave some recognition to that before I tell you that tonight we were joined by Gizzard Gary, H. David, Guns and Barbecue, Vanessa Kitty, Viejo was out there, so was 2 Live Moo, Mr. Tears 03, Chasing Ghost, thanks for carrying all that cartage for us. Mark Thomas has been out there as well, Abigail Sorsha, Finnegan, Gun Website, Sorry Fan 93, Mr. Hillbilly Up coming up after this show, G23, and as it starts off, almost every week, right? The Krabby Turtle was waving that pink hand. So thanks everybody for joining us again this Saturday. Bring a friend next Saturday. it's a good place to hang out. There's some good resources here, and certainly a bunch of good folks, as is proved out by that roll call that I just gave you. So until I see everyone else again, please be safe, have fun, take care of your crew and yourself, and you know what's coming next. Rock, we're out.